Hi, I was trying to think today, what kind of video could I make? What kind of grammar could I talk to everyone about today? What kind of vocabulary could I teach you? And it just dawned on me that I want to do a little video in English for you. If you're studying French, maybe it's because you want to go to France one day, right? Maybe you want to take a trip. Maybe you're even planning one for this summer. So just off of the top of my head, I thought I'd talk to you a little bit about some of the things that you should be aware of when you come to France, and especially for the first time. But even if you've been to France many times, some of these things might come in handy. So, first of all, what to expect in many different situations. Let's imagine that you're going to Paris. Can you expect everyone to speak English to you? Well, I know that you don't expect that because you're studying French, but the really important thing is a lot of people who are in the tourist industry do speak English. Now, it doesn't mean that you can just go up and start speaking English to people and expect a very warm reception. So, French people sometimes, and especially Parisians, sometimes have the reputation of being rude or nasty. In fact, they're lovable. They really are, mostly, except one waiter who I met one time down in a cafe across from Notre Dame. And I won't mention the name of the cafe because I'm too nice for that. But the guy was so rude. Well, we were sitting there speaking English with my girlfriends, and I had a friend of mine who was very upset because it was her daughter's birthday, and her daughter was very far away, and she was upset. So we were speaking English to her, and when the waiter came out, she she placed her order in English because she just wasn't thinking about it. She was kind of upset. And that guy was so rude. He was very rude, and he even called her bad names in French. And he didn't think anyone there could understand. Haha. So, I have to admit, I called him some bad names back, and we got up and left. But the the point is, I don't know why I started talking about that, but it's a funny story. The thing is, you should just probably at least, even if you're very nervous, you should at least say bonjour, merci, s'il vous plaît. Make an effort. If you're in a cafe, je voudrais un café, s'il vous plaît. Or even just un café, s'il vous plaît. Bonjour with a smile. I think I've mentioned before how much a smile can help, and it will really take you a long way, even in Paris. Wow. Okay, so the first thing is, yes, in Paris, tourist destinations, they probably do speak English. Does that mean you should go up and just start speaking English to them? No, probably not. Another thing, and I don't know who you are, I don't know what country you're coming from, but I'm American, so I can say this. We Americans are really loud people. And I used to travel around with students, like my group of high school students. We used to travel around every single summer. And so I would be going around with sometimes, I think the biggest group I ever took was 35 17-year-old boys because it was an all boys school. And even if you take, a group of 35 17-year-old French boys, there's going to be some noise involved. But the Americans just, and I can say it again because I'm American, we tend to have voices that carry. I've got a friend here in the town where I live, and he's British, and his wife is American. And it's funny, if you guys are watching this, you have to leave a comment. And my husband's French, her husband is British, and sometimes we'll get to talking to each other, and they just make the comment, "Hey, girls, just tone it down a little bit. You don't realize how very loud you are. You're really loud people." So it's like the French happen to be particularly offended by loud noises, and I've noticed that a lot. Again, I can say this because my husband's French, my children are French, I live in France. They're really, really, really bothered by noise. To such a degree, sometimes I don't understand it. And did you know that they sell more earplugs in France than any other country in the world? Don't believe it, I just made it up. But I wouldn't doubt if it's true. Should Google it. I'm sure someone's done research on that because it's incredible. Incroyable. All right. So, point is, especially if you're American or from another country where people just tend to be loud without realizing it, you don't mean to be rude, just try to tone it down a little bit. Here's another thing I was thinking about. If you're walking through the street and you're with a group of friends or you're with your family, I mean, if you're just two people or one person, you don't have anything to worry about. But if you're in a small group or a big group, kind of be aware of the space around you, because France, even though it's a really big country for Western Europe, it's still jam-packed full of people. And if you're coming from a big country where you're used to having lots of space for your cars and your arms and your legs and your big everything, you won't have that kind of space in France. And people are very aware of the space around them. So when you're walking down a sidewalk, for example, don't walk one right next to the other. Instead, just be aware that there are other people that have to come and go. And, you know, we're over here on vacation. Well, actually, I'm not. But you will be over here on vacation. And so you're kind of relaxed. You know, you're living your life. You're enjoying your time. But some of these people might be getting to work. And they might get annoyed if you're in their way. Quoi d'autre? What else? So, you know, here are a couple of practical things. If you are in need of something like metro tickets, let's say you're in Paris, what are you going to do? So you're going to go down into the station de métro, metro station, and you're going to buy your tickets. It sounds really simple. I guess this is turning into something that's destined to Americans, all right? Makes sense because that's where I come from. But you know, they have machines. Super awesome. They take credit cards. Yay, Visa, MasterCard, I'm all set. Except American credit cards don't work in those machines over here. We've had so many problems with that, from the kids I used to travel around with before I moved here to, you know, relatives and friends who come and visit, and even we, even we have had trouble with this. If you have a machine and you're going to put your card in it, you have to have a card that has a microchip, because that's how they're read in the machines over here. You know, American credit cards, we just have the magnetic strip and it passes everywhere. In the US, it's fine. And you sign and voila. Well, here in France, no, it won't work. If you're in a restaurant or a grocery store or any other kind of store, fine. They've got a little machine. There's a person who's going to take your card, and there's an option to slide it. Even if they say there's not, and they've never seen a card like that before, like if you're in some small little town out in France, kind of like the town where I live, many times I go into stores and they're like, oh la la, oh la 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 la, I've never seen anything like this. No, oh no, 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 ce n'est pas possible. Ce n'est pas possible. I don't have an appareil, a little machine that will read that card. And then that's when it's very délicat. It's super delicate because you have to say, in a way where they won't get offended, you have to sort of show them, yes, you do have a machine that works. You just don't know how to use it. So allow me to show you. And that's tricky, but I managed to do it. And you know, the way you can do that is sort of say, oh, wow, that is so strange. I wonder, and you just kind of start looking at it like you really have no clue, and guide them to the point where they see the place where the card slides through, and then they think they've found the answer. Perfect. Awesome. There you go. Problem solved. So if you go to the metro, station de métro, and you need to get your tickets, unfortunately, if you have an American credit card or any other card with a magnetic strip and no microchip, you're going to have to go to the actual guichet, the ticket counter, where there's a person there and they can run your card. It's no problem. It just won't work in the automatic machine. That the same is true if you're driving around France and you're driving on the autoroute, you know, on the big highway. They're toll highways, the big ones, the autoroute. I mean, there are some that aren't, but the vast majority of them are paying, you know, they're toll highways. So this happened to me. Oh my God. I was with my parents. This was back in March, and we had driven down to Spain because, you know, it's only like an hour away from where we live. And on the way back, we had to go through the péage, that's what it's called, where you pay your toll. And my husband and I were in separate cars because there were a lot of us. And he had the French card, the one with the microchip, and I had the American card. And we got up to the place, and I'm supposed to know this stuff. I mean, I'm a French teacher. I live here, but we got up to the place where you have to pay for it. Oh my God, I knew my card wasn't going to work. I knew that my card wasn't going to work, but I tried it anyway. And of course, it didn't work. And then, I happened to drive into the lane where it doesn't take cash. I had the money, I had cash, but this particular lane didn't take cash. It only took cards, and it wouldn't take my card because it was a magnetic strip card. So if you don't want to find yourself in a situation like I did with my husband and kids in the car behind me, other people in cars behind them, actually nobody honked, nobody got upset with me. I was shocked. I was sweating bullets. I was so nervous, and my dad was sitting next to me, just keeping me super calm. He's got that effect on me, which is nice. And my mom was just in the back seat not saying anything. So I had to ring the button. Now there, you should probably know how to speak French, because I can tell you in this little place in Perpignan, I don't think that they spoke English. So anyway, I told him, excusez-moi, j'ai un problème, ma carte ne marche pas. He came over and he was very nice. He took my money. He didn't take my American card. He took my actual cash. He asked me, you have cash? I said, yes, I've got cash. Just please go take it and open up the gate so I can go through. So he did that, and I got to go through. And my God, you'll never believe it. On the way back from Spain back to France, I did the same thing. I did the same thing. I don't understand what was wrong with me. I've got a mental block. I did the same thing. Nobody honked at me again. And then I was on the way to Montpellier to pick up my husband from the train station. I was talking on the phone to my father while I was driving, and it's against the law in France, but I was doing it anyway, and it's very dangerous. I know, but I was doing it, and I said, oh my God, Daddy, I've got to get off the phone because I'm in the péage. And he knew exactly what I was talking about, because even though he doesn't speak French, he had been through this situation with me. I said, I'm in the péage, and I drove into the wrong lane, and I only have the American card. He said, oh my God, Jennifer, I got to let you go. And that time there was nobody behind me. So I pulled out, actually reversed out of the thing and went into another lane. Oh my God, funny. So that's where you have to be very, very careful. If you're in Paris, you'll see those Vélib, they have these bikes that are either free or super, super cheap to rent. And you can ride bikes around Paris, and it's very practical. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's VELIB, so look it up. Awesome. But here's the problem. If you want to just go get a Vélib, they don't take cash. You have to have a credit card, and it has to be a credit card with a puce, which is a microchip. So unfortunately, I don't have any advice for you, but I'm sure there's a way you can buy a pass or something like that from a tobacco shop. Or you can research it before you go. Tobacco shop. That leads me to my next little tip. And I'm just getting these one after the other, so I'm rambling. But the tobacco shop is called the tabac, Tabac. These are ultra important, even if you don't smoke. And I hope you don't smoke, because here in France, a pack of cigarettes is 7 euros. Do the math. It's very expensive. So now's the time to quit before you come over on vacation over here. Even though cigarettes are so expensive, man, people smoke a lot. I thought about 20 years ago, when I first started coming to France, I thought people smoked a lot. Then about 10 years ago, I thought, there aren't that many people who smoke. Now it's back, and it's like all the rage. Not only real cigarettes, but also the e-cig, like the vapor ones. It's illegal to smoke inside a public establishment. I mean, if you're at home, you can do what you want. But, if you're in a hotel, if you're in a restaurant, even in nightclubs and places like that, there's no smoking. I think it's like that pretty much everywhere now, isn't it? I mean, where I lived in the U.S. and Missouri, it wasn't really like that. In St. Louis it was, but not in the other places. Anyway, the thing is, in the tobacco shop, not only can you buy 7 euro packs of cigarettes, you can also buy metro tickets. Did you know that? You can buy stamps. You can even buy stamps for postcards as opposed to stamps for letters. They will sell you an envelope with a stamp already on it, and even to the United States if you want. Or, I mean, that's all I know about. Once again, so voila. Let me see, what else used to come up when I was traveling around with my students, especially? Oh my goodness, one thing that's important to know is for the cards. So let's say you have a magnetic strip credit card. You can go to an ATM with that. It will work in the ATM because you put your card in and it's fine. And then it asks for your code, right? So you can use it. It's not going to be a problem. And voila. So what else? I had something, and then my husband was trying to get in the door. But I mean, he got me a little bit distracted. It was something about the cards. I can't remember. Yeah. Okay. So if you start using your card in the ATM, and by the way, it's not called ATM, it's called distributeur automatique. So if you put your card in there and you hesitate, you wait too long because you're trying to figure it out and all this kind of thing. It's just an ATM machine. Press English if you're not sure. But anyway, if for some reason you get confused, like many of my students have in the past, I love you if you're watching this, by the way. It's just so much fun to make fun of you because, now I'm in France and you're there. Voila. So if you put it in and you wait too long, you hesitate, it will eat your card. And it will send it back to your bank in the United States or wherever you live. And, then you'll really be in a little bit of trouble because you won't be able to get your money out. What else? If you're crossing the street, oh yeah, okay. Especially if you are from the UK. You will have a problem here if you go up to the street and, what is it? We always, because I'm from the part of the world where we drive on the right side of the road, just a joke, sorry. We always go up to the curb and we look to the left and then to the right so we don't get run over, right? If you, when we go to your country, when we go to the UK, I noticed it's very, very, very nice. For tourists, they have written on the pavement to make sure that you look to the right first. Tell me if I'm getting this backwards, by the way. I'm not good with that kind of thing. But here in France, they do drive on the, not the same side of the street as you do in the UK. So make sure that you kind of have that in mind so you don't get run over. Another thing, rules and laws in Anglo-Saxon kind of countries, when there's a rule or a law, whether it be spoken or unspoken, people tend to follow it. An example, when my nieces used to come visit us in the US, this was when one of my nieces was about 13, we were going to get a newspaper out of one of the little newspaper stands. So you put your 50 cents in or whatever, you open it, you take out your newspaper, and you close it. And she said, well, and she's a really, really sweet girl, I mean, she's not a thief. She said, well, what's going to stop someone from taking all of those newspapers? I said, well, it's just common courtesy. I mean, people don't do that. She said, in France, they would. See? So that's why they don't have those kind of little, I don't know. Tell me if I'm making some of this stuff up. She's the one who told it to me. But if you're French and watching this and you think that I'm just kind of full of it and making up this stuff as I go, half of that is true. I am making this up as I go, but I don't mean to tell lies. That's for sure. Original point. If you see, for example, that the pedestrian light is green, it means you can cross the street, but it doesn't always mean that the cars are going to stop. We had a tour director once, Jean-Christophe from Paris. So I doubt if Jean-Christophe is watching this, but if you are, maybe you'll remember telling my group that in France, and he could say this because he's French, he would say, in France, laws are merely suggestions. So we come from Anglo-Saxon country where there's a law, there's a place to line up, we line up behind each other, we don't push and shove, we're nice, we wait our turn. I mean, there are always exceptions, right? But here, I mean, there's not really a concept of a single file line. It's just going to be like every man for himself. So if you see that you're in a line and people are cutting in front of you, you're just going to have to not be polite and take your spot. Claim it. It's yours. Now I see that this video has been going on for 20 minutes. If you're still here listening to me, thank you very much. I guess that means you enjoyed watching it. You know, maybe you can think of something else, because as soon as I click on stop, I'm going to start thinking of other things. So who knows? Maybe you'll get a part 2. I'm going to go see what my husband wants, because he was trying to get in the door a little while ago. I think he thinks I'm in here talking to myself. Voila. Thanks for watching. Bisous, bisous. See you soon.